Oh, it's you again. Now, this is what the D-Make represents.
Because animated films make up some of our most formative movie experiences as kids.
That's the ideology that she promotes. Whereas this is what Phil Lord and Chris Miller are about.
The bottom line is that the movie is grounded in Miles and his family and his relationship with Gwen and the other spider people. So it's, you know, as long as we stay rooted in that, we're in business. And the other stuff is exciting and thrilling to see in the movie theater, and we're so proud of how it got realized. But at the end of the day, it's your emotional engagement with Miles that you know, keeps you involved.
So, did you catch that? Little Mermaid is about maintaining the ideology that animation is just for kids. Whereas Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse poses animation as a tool for story. According to the New York Times, there's an interview with Sean Bailey that talks about the remakes. Now, Sean Bailey, being the president of Walt Disney Pictures, wants to make the stories less retrograde. Now, what does he mean by this? Well, he wants more diversity in these stories, when they didn't need them in the first place. So that means it values diversity over story. Whereas Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the exact opposite. As the first thing that Phil Lord mentioned in that interview was about the story and Miles' relationships. So that means Across the Spider-Verse is story first, diversity second. Which is what it should be. Now there's one particular detail that really grinds my gears. So, the little narrative that they have for the Little Mermaid remake is that they accuse China of bigotry for the cause for bombing there. Now, I'm not one to condone the actions and the thoughts of this particular country, but there's a little twist to this. In China, they only made $3,860,000 so far. Whereas Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is funded the most by China, with $32,720,000 as of right now. So it's like China doesn't care that the main character, one of the main characters, is of dark skin. So this dumb movie paints one country as bigoted, when there's evidence of the contrary. Whereas Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is said to be a masterpiece, or close to it, by most critics worldwide. Oh yeah, and there's one other detail. The gross of the original films. So they have said that the original film was outgrossed by the remake. However, as of right now, the opposite is true. Because if you adjust for inflation, it made $582,213,652. And that is worldwide. Whereas the remake has only made $414,210,339. Oh yeah, and the production budget of the original film was $40 million. And that's unadjusted for inflation. Whereas if you were to adjust by inflation, it would be $112,774,349.44. Compare that to the production budget of the current film, which is $250 million. It used $137,225,650.56 less than the remake's budget. Now, the original film for Into the Spider-Verse made $430,692,135. And that's adjusted for inflation, of course. Without inflation, the sequels are grossing it. Across the Spider-Verse, as of right now, has $389,946,000. Adjusted for inflation, the production budget was $103,238,200. Whereas Across the Spider-Verse only had $100 for its budget. You know, I find it quite interesting that both of these movies were made for less than both Little Mermaid movies. Oh yeah, Mario was made with $100 million too. Let's also not forget that Haley insists her film is better, when the original 1989 film was the last to use hand-painted cells, before they used the Pixar-created method of coloring called caps. There's also the fact that they hired an adult film star for a role. So, for gaslighting the public, for lying about your motives, and for being extremely expensive to make, you're unwanted. Get out of here!